Hello. Welcome to Rebecca's Readings. Today, we'll be focusing on poetry. Let's begin. Beginning by James Wright. The moon drops one or two feathers into the field. The dark wheat listens. Be still. Now. There they are, the moon's young, trying their wings. Between trees, a slender woman lifts up the lovely shadow of her face, and now she steps into the air. Now she is gone, wholly into the air. I stand alone by an elder tree. I do not dare breathe or move. I listen. The wheat leans back toward its own darkness, and I lean toward mine. Another good one would be Abandoned Farmhouse by Ted Kozer. He was a big man, says the size of his shoes, on a pile of broken dishes by the house. A tall man, too, says the length of his bed in an upstairs room. And a good, God-fearing man, says the Bible with a broken back, on the floor below the window, dusty with sun. But not a man for farming, say the fields, cluttered with boulders and the leaky barn. A woman lived with him, says the bedroom wall, papered with lilacs, and the kitchen shelves covered with oilcloth. And they had a child, says the sandbox, made from a tractor tire. Money was scarce, says the jars of plum preserves and canned tomatoes sealed in the cellar hole. And the winter's cold, say the rags in the window frames. It was lonely here, says the narrow country road. Something went wrong, says the empty house. In the weed-choked yard, stones in the field say he was not a farmer. The still-sealed jars in the cellar say she left in a nervous haste. And the child? Its toys are strewn in the yard like branches after a storm. A rubber cow, a rusty tractor with a broken plow, a doll in overalls. Something went wrong, they say. To finish it off, I'll be reading Waving Goodbye by Gerald Stern. I wanted to know what it was like before we had voices, and before we had bare fingers, and before we had minds to move us through our actions, and tears to help us over our feelings. So I drove my daughter through the snow to meet her friend, and filled her car with suitcases, and hugged her, as an animal would, pressing my forehead against her, walking in circles, moaning, and touching her cheek. And I turned my head after them as an animal would, watching helplessly as they drove over the ruts, her smiling face and her small hand just visible over the giant pillows and coat hangers as they made their turn into the empty highway. As always, thanks so much for tuning in. Next week we'll be beginning another series called Sloppy Verse. Good night.